This is the House of Parliament where men and women have sat for decades, making decisions that would affect all our lives. Do they really work in the interests of the people or themselves? They sit at the round tables, trying to decipher which way to turn. Is it left or is it right? Have the people benefited from those decisions? Our people have suffered for far too long. Change should not be a figment of the imagination, but reality. Every boy, every girl, every man, every woman are equally important. The market vendor joyfully sells her produce. The fish vendor skillfully uses his cutlass to cut the fish. Keep on working. Let your smile be your motivation. Build a community of brotherly and sisterly love. Don't give up on your dreams. Surround yourself with positive thinkers. Think big and keep on moving. Keep pushing the envelope. Yes, push that envelope until you have succeeded. You may have made many mistakes, but that is no reason to stop. Don't you dare give up. Get ready for that overflow. Get ready for that breakthrough. The overflow is coming. Showers of blessings. Stay cool. Stay calm. Stay collective. Ride the rough waves of life. Hold on to that rope tightly. Just keep working. Keep moving. Keep believing. Self-motivation. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Lies and Deceit. I am your host, Soraya Alexander, better known as Soso. I know you guys were wondering, where was Soso? Is she coming? Yes, she is coming because we are about to start some labor pains. So please get your doctor. Please get your midwife, because we are about to blow this place up with truth. How are y'all doing tonight, my sweet people? Okay, how are y'all? I know y'all know Soso is always on time, but we just had to ensure that our internet connection with Mr. Joseph was good. We had to switch over to the US. My God, we ain't got good service with Flo here. I want to say a good evening to all my senior citizens in TV land. How are y'all? I know whenever I come on, you guys want me to be on television, but for now I have an arrangement for only Wednesdays on television. So if you guys continue supporting with the coffees and your donations, we can be on GVD TV, Floor 115 very often. And I want to give a big shout out to GVD TV channel 115. Vitus Peter, how you doing, Vitus? How you doing? It's good to collaborate with young people with a vision. And this is what I have done. My senior citizens, how y'all doing all over St. Lucia and in the diaspora? How are y'all doing tonight? I am energized. I'm fired up. Call all your friends in TV land. Hi, my YouTubers. How you doing, darling? Hi, Tony, Allison. How are you doing? So we on Facebook. Hi, my Facebookers. How y'all doing? I love you. I love you. My Facebookers. How are my YouTube people? And all those in TV land. Gather your friends around tonight to listen to Soso. Because Soso, you won't be seeing Soso for a little while. I'll tell you, what has happened. But you need to gather all your friends here tonight to get a good dose of what Soso is giving. I'll update you. I'm not leaving y'all, but a little break, which is needed because this takes a lot. Support with the coffee. I love y'all. I love y'all. Now, one of my supporters came to St. Lucia and surprised me and gave me a wonderful card. Thank you, darling. And gave me Mizzy US for Mizzy Coffees. Give me this nice eyeshadow I'm wearing. I love y'all, I love y'all. And I pray that God continue to bless your girlfriend and your sons. I love you. Enjoy your stay in St. Lucia. But tonight, we are going to go hard. I'm excited, because I also need a little R&R. So tonight I'm giving you all my energy. And y'all too. Take a break and reflect because it's the Easter season and I am one that is very strong in my faith, so I need to take a little break. Now, my people, let me just shout out to y'all first to get down to business. Let me tell y'all went crazy buying coffees. Let me shout out my friend, Stanny you. Thanks to the coffee. Elsie, someone, thanks to the coffee. Judy, Kent Daisy, Fleur, and another someone. All of you, thanks for the coffees. Hi Troy, always following his so. Hi Miriam, where you girl? Oh my God, I'm so happy. I'm happy because I'll be taking a little rest. I need to rest, people. Me doing that is not easy. You don't know what we have to go through to ensure everything goes well. And we need, it's a shame that you cannot just do a connection here and get good service. I love y'all. Good night, Catherine. Good night, Josiah, Jacinta, Donna, McGilta, baby, McGilta. How are you, darling? Lauren, hi. Lauren and Owen, Henny, May, Moses, Anisha, all the way from Canada. So my people, enjoy tonight. Grab your friends. You'll see this little beauty. She's taking a little break, but she's coming back. I need the rest. People, but without further ado, let me introduce the man. The man they love to hate. The man they love to hate. Mr. Guy Joseph. He needs no further introduction. One of the most brilliant politicians in St. Lucia. Come on in, Mr. Joseph. Welcome to the Lies and Deceit show.
Thank you. Good night to you, Soso, and good night to all.
Wow, you look so handsome tonight. What did the wifey do to you? Wow.
Oh, I took a haircut. That was long overdue. So.
Okay, you look handsome tonight.
Yeah. And let me say thanks to Ruby, my barber. Young man right in the community. He doesn't have a barber shop, but I always go at his home to get a haircut.
Oh, that's nice. Supporting your own people. Awesome. Yep. It is so nice to have you tonight. How do you feel? I know we're in the Easter season, and I'm so happy that you are my final guest before the Easter season. I need to take a little break just to relax and reflect, and I'm so happy you are my guest.
Well, I'm always happy to be your guest. More so, I had a little time to think between our last program and this one, and to review some notes, and I'm telling you, even things when you go over it and you see it, sometimes you are even surprised that it's as bad as it really is. Because, I've had more time to reflect on things, being in opposition, not being bombarded on every side with trying to get this done and trying to get that done. So it gives me more time to really pay attention to a lot of details that sometimes you would overlook when you are too busy with too many things to do. So at the end of the day, that is what I've been focused on. Imagine I spent the whole day yesterday trying to review some of the things that I wanted to speak about tonight.
Yeah. More
so because of the critical stage at which we are at.
Very
and I'm
critical.
Telling you, so it is a difficult time that we are in. It's difficult for any government to govern at this time.
Absolutely.
And more so when you have incompetence in government, it really magnifies the problem triple what it is. So, like you, I want to give a shout out to the people of Castries Southeast. Um, I still love the people of Castries Southeast as
Definitely.
much as I loved them when I was the parliamentary representative, because my entry into politics was never about myself. It was about my love for the people and the desire to see them do better. And I'm telling you, I have not put any pressure on the parliamentary rep. I have given him his time to be able to deal with the things. I mean, I saw some potholes in the road that was blocked. And even though they didn't repair the whole road, I was grateful that the potholes were blocked, because it means that I could drive on a road that was smoother than how it was for the last 6 months or so. So at the end of the day, little things I am grateful for. It's unfortunate that it is not what it ought to be in Castries Southeast, but nevertheless, I'm hoping that the parliamentary rep will find his footing and be able to do what he promised the people that he would give to them, having won the seat. But I am saddened by the fact that we are in a crisis in this country. And usually we talk about being lost in space. You know, space is big enough to be lost in. But when you're lost in your own office as a prime minister,
Oh, this is sad.
it's a sad situation that we have a prime minister. Not only is he lost in Masha or Castries East, he's lost in St. Lucia, and he's lost in his own office. The man is clueless about what to do with the situations that confront us. And I will highlight it tonight in his budget to point to the people of St. Lucia that they were bluffed,
Bluffed.
they were fooled,
Yes.
they were given a 6 for a 9 by the Labour Party, and they have no intentions of making that 9 a 9. They don't want to do that. They continue to give the people a 6 for a 9. So I will start with the fuel increase.
Yes, yes, please do.
In 22 days, we had $2 increase in the price of fuel over a 22-day period. Now, information is readily available. So you can go on Google, you can watch international news, and you will see the fuel prices.
Exactly.
When the first increase, now when UWP was in office, we capped fuel at $13.95.
95. Yes.
And any time the fuel price was supposed to go higher, the government would cut down on its revenue and keep the fuel at $13.95. And that we had discussions with the public transport sector that look at, we were not going to increase the price of fuel beyond $13.95. At the end of the day, we kept to that. I want to refresh people's memory. Back when fuel was 147 US dollars a barrel, under a UWP government, fuel was still being sold at $12.75 a gallon. And the cooking gas that you heard them talking about subsidizing
$22. Really?
We have been subsidizing, when fuel was $147 a barrel, we were subsidizing cooking gas by over $40 a tank. So at the end of the day, for Labour Party to come in and claim, okay, because we are doing this, now that is not what they promised. So let's look at what has happened. Brent crude, which amounts to, there are two types of crude oil that you get, the Brent crude and the regular crude oil. And it's an average of the two that determines the world market price. And anybody can go and read it about Brent crude. Is about 1/3 contributor to the price of fuel. And Brent crude oil is down to $98. It was yesterday or day before yesterday. So already, while the government was raising the price of fuel, the world market price was
Was
already on
going.
a downward.
Yes,
Now
yes,
it is volatile. So yes, you would get times when you get a spike, and there are times when
you
it
get
will
a
decrease.
decrease.
So when they increased, fuel was about 114, $116 a barrel. Brent crude was about $113. Brent crude is down to $98, and the regular was about 103 or 107. You are telling me that the Labour Party, who promised so much to the people, when UWP was paying $500, they said they would pay $1,500, would not find it in their heart to be able to say, okay, let us just offset the price of fuel for the next 3 weeks. Let's see where the market price is going, and then we will make a determination as to whether we are going to increase any further. Philip J. Pierre with his cabinet, without the blink of an eye, without any hesitation. In fact, I believe the first time when they announced the $1, they already knew that in 21 days they would
That is
increase it by another
crazy.
dollar.
This is crazy.
Now, I can tell you, when I look at the world market price, all they are trying to do is to make the maximum amount of money on the people of St. Lucia.
Yes, yes.
And that is so unfortunate.
That is
Now,
very sad.
I know that the Minibus Association had a meeting with the Minister of Transport, and there are discussions that come June, there will be an increase in bus fares around the island. So think of the parents who are already struggling to send their kids to school. Think of the workers who have not had an increase, and some of them are still working part-time or on a shift system because of the impact of COVID. Some of them will never get back their jobs because the businesses they were working for have closed down as a result of the impact of COVID.
Yeah.
All of that happened. And rather than the government absorb, now let me tell you so. The fuel consumption in St. Lucia is about 20 million gallons a year. So at the $2 that they have increased the price of fuel, if they keep it for the period of a year, that is $40 million that the government will be making in extra revenue. Who is paying for that?
The people.
Now, as a driver put it to me today, he said to me, so here we are, groceries have gone up, everything in the supermarket is more expensive. Now cooking gas is more expensive. And you now have to pay, you will have to pay a higher bus fare to go to the supermarket to buy the groceries that are already at a higher price.
That's injustice. That's injustice to the poor people.
The government that promised so much, their first opportunity to deliver a small measure of relief to the people of St. Lucia, have just said, you know what? Because the vehicles they drive, the government pays for the fuel. So they don't buy fuel. They don't feel that pressure that the average person feels. Now they may tell me, when you were in government, yes, government paid for the fuel. That was for the fuel in the government vehicle, not in my private vehicle. But that is why we understood the impact of the price of fuel on everything else. So think of the wholesalers. Think of the bakers. Think of all the people who have to transport their goods. Who are they pass on this cost? The additional $2 that they now have to pay per gallon, because they may have increase of $1, but in essence, it is $2 that you have to pay every gallon of fuel. So if you use 10 gallons of fuel for the day, that is $20 a day. For 20 days, if you work, that is $400 in additional. That is not all you are paying. That is just additional cost. So I went through and I said, okay, if I were to break down, and I do have some numbers. So as I indicated, crude oil prices were about $100. The Brent crude was at 98. It was easy for SLP to absorb some of that cost for the next 3 weeks because you've already put $1 on the price of fuel. You've already raised the price of cooking gas. So why put on another dollar? And mind you, they're not increasing by 25 cents or 50 cents or 75 cents, $1 of the bat. So you know how they check that? If you use 1 million gallons for the month, that's $1 million extra the government is making to waste. Because I will point out in the budget some of the things that they are doing. I heard Jamari trying to justify the price. If UWP was in office, Jamari would be calling for gas stations to close and for the people of St. Lucia to protest against the price. Because the price does not only affect the consumer, Remember, most of these gas stations don't get their gas on credit. They have to pay cash. Because I was in the gas station business and I understand that. So it means that they now have to find extra money to pay for that fuel. So if they were buying 10,000 gallons of fuel, and let's say for argument, it was $100,000, now they have to find $110,000 to pay, or $120,000 now to pay for the same 10,000 gallons of fuel. But you see, Jamari knows where he gets his benefits. Because most of the vouchers from government and everything goes through his station. So the card, there's a network in this country. And unless the average man begin to break the back of this network, we will continue to pay a heavy price.
Now, Judge, let me just stop you there and you hold your trend of thought. This is what our people of St. Lucia cannot understand. They are singing, oh, SLP is the best party, our government, and UWP and Chasney just giving him stress. But they are not getting a piece of the pie because in St. Lucia, as you said, there is a network. Now, people of St. Lucia, what you have to understand, as long as the network is okay, they will never complain. And the network is the elites. And those under, which are the average St. Lucians, we are the one picking up the bill. So when you see they were saying that the United Workers' Party is for the elites, that's not true. The United Workers' Party was for the poor man. Go ahead, Mr. Joseph.
Yeah, and that's what, so let me, because I back up what I say with facts. And that is one of the reasons why a lot of people in position take offense to some of the things that I say. And I know I'm not their favorite, but I don't care about favorites. For that matter, favorites are a bad thing. If you have children and you show favoritism,
it's not
division
good.
Among them. So let me, and I will mention tonight, we have Sol and we have Rubies. Two providers of fuel in St. Louis. And no matter how many times I've asked the technocrats to explain the pricing mechanism for me in the Ministry of Finance, they have not been able to satisfactorily explain. So let me give you an example. Let us say Rubies buys the gas wholesale from their supplier at $5 a gallon. Sol would buy the same gas and they would say they buy it at $6 a gallon. And then when the duty is worked out, the duty is worked on the average of the two. So 6 and 5 is 11.
11.
So they would work the average price at $5.50.
50 cents. Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask the average businessman in St. Lucia, why would you buy your goods at $5 and agree to pay it at a duty price of $5.50? If so, let's take two stores for example. Home Depot sells lumber, Mangal Total Construction Supply sell lumber. If Mangal buys his plywood at $10 a sheet of, or $100 a sheet of plywood, and Home Depot goes and buys somewhere else and they buy at $120 a sheet of plywood, why would Mangal agree that his price should be calculated or his duty should be calculated at $110 when he really paid $100? So from that mechanism, there is something that does not add up. Now, I will tell you, and I'm not saying that's what Sol and Rubis is doing, but I know people in the manufacturing sector who have formed shell companies. And what these companies do is they buy the goods overseas at a cheaper price and they sell it to themselves in St. Lucia at a higher price, so that their business is never showing profit in St. Lucia, but outside of St. Lucia, they are the owners of the business who make the profit. And when I highlight these things in government, because I'm not afraid, I have no agenda than to see that St. Lucia benefits from what happens in this country. So I'm telling you, on the price of fuel, and that is why I was working hard with Delta Petroleum to get Delta, because once it's two providers you have of the same commodity, you don't really have a liberalized market.
No, you don't.
And
You don't.
I know that and that's the same thing I said about Cable and Wireless and Digicel. You
That's
don't
right.
really have liberalization. And
No,
you know
you
what
don't.
happened to me last week or so? After our show, my phone went one way. And when I tried to make a call, they said the payment is due. You know, when my wife went to make the payment, you know how much money was owed? $1.01 was owed on my phone, and it was put one way. And she actually took a picture of the receipt.
What?
But $1.01 was owed on my phone. And I was one way. So I know what I'm up against when I come. So it's not you alone that's up against it. You see, when I was in government, they wanted to do things that they maybe were a bit fearful of doing. But they figure out, now you're out there, you want to speak loud, we will show you who's in charge. But I'm not afraid of that. That's why I have a US phone. And I can rely on my US phone, and nobody can tamper with my US phone in St. Lucia.
Exactly. This is ridiculous for $1 and something cents, because I worked with a telecoms company, and what we do, if you pay your bill, if your bill is $200 and you pay, let's say, $165, we give you a leeway to have like $30, $40, and we don't disconnect you. So I don't understand how Flow would disconnect you. Put your phone one way, $1 and whatever cents. This is just madness.
Now, I will tell you. You see, Mr. Williams, I have the highest regard for the manager.
Right.
I have not called him about it.
Right.
Because, you know, they have some people who work in companies, and they are more SLP than Philip J. Pierre himself. And they take it upon themselves
to be personal,
to do things and to go after people, not being sanctioned by the managers or the supervisors or anything. But they just want to show that they have authority. You know, places and securities, where the own place will tell you, come in, the security will give you a hard time. But I understand in small societies, these things happen. But I'm going back to the price of fuel. So that mechanism of calculating the price of fuel. And I have done sufficient research in this to know that the companies that buy fuel here buy fuel through an intermediary. So there is a middleman that they go through. I don't know who the middleman is. I was not able to discover who the middleman was. But I've engaged other companies. I could bring in a 20-foot container with the tanks of gas on it from the US and land it in St. Lucia cheaper than what Sol and Rubis buys gas in St. Lucia and resell.
Whoa!
So at the end of the day, I know that something is not right about this. And when I go out and I speak about these things, then I become a target. People want, so the government, and that is why when we had the Orange March, they said that there was not an exorbitant price of fuel, but a week after the march, the price went down by over $3. And up to now, and you know what? Is the dealers that was collecting these monies, and then they were offsetting it again. So when it's high and when it's low, I believe that if that is the trend that we are going, that we should let the market forces dictate the price of the fuel. Because, and then let the government returns be fixed and let the dealers make their prices. Because at the end of the day, if I want to sell cheaper because I belong to an association, I cannot go below the price. So can you think of if all the Syrians in Castries were in an association and they could not sell their jeans pants cheaper than the other one, or a pair of shoes? Market forces have to be able to dictate prices. When I go to a gas station in the US, on that side of the road, they have Gulf. The other side may have Chevron. You go there, that one is 10 cents cheaper, that one is 10 cents. You make a choice where you want to buy your fuel, because that is how the market and the price changes on a daily basis. I understand why we have the 21-day pass-through mechanism. So, but if the government is going to exploit the people that way by increasing fuel, it's just a few weeks the war started and the price of fuel started going up. You mean the government has lost so much money on fuel that they have to increase it by $2? Now watch that so. When we were in government and the pandemic hit, remember we had 758, 759.
Right.
The fuel consumption went down to minimal. Then a lot of people were on lockdown. You had the curfews and all of that. So the consumption of fuel was down. So the returns that we were collecting was much less. Now the economy is much more buoyant than it was. No more confinement and curfew. People are moving. So on volume, they are collecting more money.
More revenue.
But they are still not satisfied. They have to increase it further to squeeze the average St. Lucian. That's a wicked government. I cannot understand why the average St. Lucian would sit by, and if they don't understand, everything will go up as a result of the new price of fuel in St. Lucia. That is where we are headed now.
Let me just ask you that. So basically, in 22 days, these people are collecting $2 on the St. Lucian public, and they're going to be making revenue close to $44 million. And he has not yet dropped any taxes on behalf of the poor people of St. Lucia.
Nothing. So that is how they put the people first. So. That is putting the people first. Make the people pay. So the idea of putting them first is making them pay the most. So you all voted us, pay. Now, what I was saying to you, I'm giving you examples. you gave the National Trust $750,000. Now, if you divide the 20 million gallons we use a year by the 12 months, all you ending up with is about 1.7, 1.8 million gallons for the month. So that's $1.8 million. So you gave $750,000. So don't you think the average worker and the minibus driver who was operating below capacity for an extended period of time now have to buy the same set of tires he was buying $1,200, now have to pay $2,000 for the same set of tires? All of these pressures in the taxi sector, the taxi drivers did not work for over a year. These people are just going back to work. Some of them, they need tires, they need parts for their vehicles. All of these have gone up. You are not going, the same people you promise you give them $1,500. So if you take 1,000 people at $1,500, that's $1.5 million. You could not subsidize the fuel for 1 month. You understand what I'm saying here? So in terms of how easy, now if UWP was in office, there's no way we would raise fuel by $2. Impossible. Because when the price of fuel came up, government would give up something because we know the implications of an increase in the price of fuel on inflation and the overall economy. But that's very sad. But these people don't care about us.
But let
they
me
don't
tell you,
care about the average solution.
Let me tell you, let me just interject here. He kept saying revenue, revenue. The government is losing revenue, revenue. So he doesn't care if he squeeze the people of St. Lucia, but he's going to collect his revenue. Now, also, Philip J. Pierre is the Prime Minister of St. Lucia. But this man is saying, he is so laughable. This man is saying, he doesn't know where the lock box is. He doesn't know where the $1.50 is that your administration placed on the people of St. Lucia. Philip J. Pierre is supposed to be an economist. He should know that money was used for roads. So it's the lies and the deceit and the bluff. Let me hear your input on this.
You know, Pierre, they asked him a question and he said that should be taken to the landfill. I think Pierre should be taken to the landfill. Because it's garbage alone he talks. He doesn't talk any sense.
Oh my God.
So maybe they can just put him there to speak and the landfill will be filled. Because at the end of the day, to tell me you don't know where it is.
Prime Minister, exactly.
But the best person to tell him where it is in his cabinet, Stephenson King.
Exactly.
Because so let me explain that to the people of St. Lucia, because I don't want people to have any misconceptions. We took the loan from the Taiwanese. The Ministry of Finance, because we have a 5-year moratorium on the loan. So for the first 5 years, what we did was that money was to be used to do most of the design, finance, construct projects we do. And for the first 2 years, the bulk of the money went to the Ministry of Infrastructure, headed by Stephenson King. So so to come and pretend that you don't know, you see, when big men will lie about useless things, I mean, what is there to hide? Former Prime Minister Alan Chasney explained that in the parliament, explained that on the media. All the evidence is there to show the money was spent. He can just look at the budget allocations and he will see. So when he talk about he doesn't know, he knew it was for Huronora. When he was Minister of Structure, he found the 50 million that was in the logbox for Hiranura Airport that they stopped collecting, but he doesn't know where the logbox is for the fuel prices. Pierre can fool people who are more foolish than him, but not people like him.
Oh,
He
my
can
God.
fool some of the labor hacks, and it's not because he fooled them. Because as far as I'm concerned, Pierre and his out of tune band, all they are doing is lip singing. They are not the actual artists who are performing. They are just lip singing. There's somebody playing, singing in the background, and they just moving their mouth. And they can't even move their mouth in time with the rhythm of the music because they don't understand what is happening in Russia. So to say that he doesn't know where the money went to is crazy, because you have a carryover from the UWP government.
Exactly.
If
You have a
your
budget.
government
You have the actuals.
holding, no, but he has Stevenson King who holds the same ministry, and not $1 was spent in another ministry from the fuel tax other than the Ministry of Infrastructure. And I can tell you, when the people of the Ministry of Finance, they had to answer to the Prime Minister why so much money had gone to the Ministry of Infrastructure from that amount. Okay, so for them to come and pretend that the money they don't know. So all the roads that was fixed is the free projects of the Design Finance Construct that fixed all the roads that was fixed in St. Lucia. They don't know that when they left the government, they left with no money, and they said that they could not raise money. You mean Kenny and Philip J. Pierre forgot that Kenny said something happened that had never happened before? That they went to the market and they could not raise money because they were asked to put their financial house in order. He has somehow... So let's go to Pierre's budget. Let me show you. So on the fuel, I expect that there might be another increase again. So if at the rate they go, if in 21 days you've gone up by 22 days you've gone up by $2, fuel never went to 1585 under a UWP government. Not during the great crisis of 2008, the financial meltdown. Recession, not during the worst of times, we kept fuel within the range of 1395. Prior to that, fuel under a previous Labour Party was 1585. That's the highest it had gone on the Kenyan term. 1585. Pierre has beaten that by 10 cents by making it 1595.
But let me just stop you there. When he spoke, he said he is only making 80 cents. Okay? And y'all went in, they had it at $2, y'all went in, you added $2.50 to it, and he's saying he's making a loss of minus 3.20. Help me with Pierre's maths, because I don't understand what this man is saying. You're increasing fuel on the people of St. Lucia in 22 days by $2, but you are still saying you're not collecting revenue?
So let me tell you, and I've said that before, when governments say they are subsidizing fuel, we are not really subsidizing fuel. When you subsidize fuel is when you pay more and you sell for less. So like in the case of rice, flour, and sugar, the government usually subsidizes, because you'd buy a bag of flour for $100 and you'd sell it for $90. So you subsidize it by $10 and the cost of the sales and everything. What is happening when we talk about subsidizing fuel is that the amount of money that government would collect on fuel is reduced. So let's say you are going to collect $2.50 on every gallon of fuel. So if you collect $1, what they are saying is that they have subsidized fuel by the price of $1.50. But in actuality, you are not really subsidizing.
Just reducing your
You
revenue.
have just reduced your profit margin on fuel.
That's all.
Why should government be making profit on fuel? You are selling fuel. Why should you be making profit on fuel? But I know
Exactly.
the country needs to collect taxes. But here's where the philosophy of labor for the economy is bad. You are causing inflation. You are causing reduction in consumption, which in the long term will affect you worse than if you had subsidized. So I went through the budget and I was telling you, I see $1 million set aside to hire a special prosecutor. In Tia's budget speech, it is there, and I will give it to you. So you take in $1 million to hire a special prosecutor. And the job of that special prosecutor, I guess, is to come after Guy Joseph. Now, if you're going to come after me, I can read it for you on page 19 of his budget. It says, a provision of $1 million has been made for the consulting services and commission's office of the Director of Public Prosecution to account for the appointment of a special prosecutor and support staff. So you're going to put, and I've heard that talk, so many people in government tell me, oh boy, they hired a special prosecutor for it. I have the Lindquist report, I will read. You pay $3 million for Robert Lindquist to investigate me. You came with nothing. You ended up with nothing. You're now taking $1 million to hire a special prosecutor to come after myself, Alan Chasney, and maybe a few others in the government. For what? So you couldn't take that $1 million and subsidize the fuel for another month for the people of St. Lucia? Because so if you look at the additional dollar, and I said you do about 1.7 million gallons a month if you go at the 20 million gallons for the year. So at the $1 per gallon, the 1 million and the 700. So the money you give National Trust and the money you going to appoint the special prosecutor.
Thank you.
Have subsidized fuel for another month while you gauge where the price is going.
Thank you. Thank you.
You see, but that is what people are not understanding.
Thinking.
So once it's labor that do it in good, I bet you if Alan Chasney was in office today and he had them make the mistake of saying he raising the price of fuel by $2 in such a short space of time, everybody would be on the streets protesting.
Yep, got that right.
Saying, exactly. But you know what? It's labor that did it, so it's okay. So let's go to the budget. Claudia said that they did not borrow any money.
Claudia's.
Yes. And I've told you, he's an idiot of class. Now, I want to read you a quotation from Philip J.P.'s budget on page 2. Now, I am not sure that it may be page 2 on everybody's because my print is a little bigger. But I think it would be on page 2. He says, Mr. Speaker, and that's the third paragraph. Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the fundraising challenges, my government anticipates that by the end of March 2022, total resources that would have been used to finance the budget would amount to $1.584 billion. That's $1,584 million, comprising of $1.031 billion. And I want to call the number correctly, not like Philip J. That's $1,031 million in domestic revenue, $54.98 million in external grants, $326.6 million in loan disbursements. You heard that?
Mm-hmm.
So they never went to Parliament to borrow $1. By Claudia's own admission. How were you able to draw down on loan disbursements of 326 million? Now, the average person will listen to Pierre and they will not be able to read through the lines of what he's saying. So all the accusations they made of Alan Chasney as Prime Minister, all the money they accused us of borrowing, we were not the ones who used the money. They are the ones who drew down $326 million of these loans.
Hold on there, Mr. Joseph St. Lucians. Are you listening? Mr. Guy Joseph just said that the Philip J. Pierre government was the one who used the $328 million Alan Chasney had there for the people of St. Lucia.
So, it's not even me and you saying it so. It's in the budget speech of Philip J. Pierre, and it's on page 2. And I'm quoting him. He says that, and I will read the whole paragraph and then comment. Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the fundraising challenges, my government anticipates that by year-end March 2022, total resources that would have been used to finance the budget would have amounted to 1.584 billion, comprising of 1.031 billion in domestic revenue, 54.98 million in external grants, 326.6 million in loan disbursements, and 171.4 million in treasury bills, notes, and bonds. So when Claudius came and said, we ran the whole budget and we did not have to borrow any money, these fellas are mad. So that 326 million and the 171 million, 3 and 1 4, that is $500 million.
Why
now,
it hot?
So what is treasury bills, notes, and bonds? These are instruments that government use. Now, when you do these bonds and these things, you don't always have to go to Parliament. So they've been able to raise 171 million from treasury bills, notes, and government bonds. So how could, now, that's why I tell you, for a man who pretends to be a lawyer, we know he don't have no law degree, Claudius, to come and talk that kind of crap, you the Speaker of the House in St. Lucia, and you come in and talk that level of foolishness, as if you all manufactured, you all had a little printing press printing money somewhere, that you all just come and you all run the country.
And what hurt me, Guy, is that the professionals who were bitching and quarreling and saying all sorts of things sat there and said nothing. Because how any thinking person would know that Philip J. Pierre was using monies left by the previous administration?
Exactly. So what I said to them, if you all accuse us so much of borrowing, you all should not draw down the money, return the money to the people, and then we don't owe them.
Exactly.
Why did you all run and draw down on it? You see, so this foolishness that you heard this Labour Party speaking of. Now, why would you come and lie about something as simple as
that?
So, what we did when we were in government, and that's why I said kudos to Alan Chasney, knowing the challenges of COVID and the world economy. When we passed the budget, we made provisions of money to run the budget for the entire year. If they did not have to borrow for the previous budget, why now they borrowing 505 million by Pierre's own admission?
Almost
that he now
$500
has to borrow
billion.
505 million. So you mean Alan Chasney left so much money there, you didn't have to borrow 1 cent to run the budget for the budget that Alan Chasney passed. But your first budget, you're going and borrow $505 million.
$505 million.
But that is what St. Lucians voted for. Although they tell me that's not what they voted for. So here are the 7 pointers on which Pierre establishes his budget. These estimates aim at 1, providing a platform for sustained growth. 2, supporting continued robust performance of our tourism industry. Isn't that the same Philip J. Pierre who said the only person in the world who think that tourism will come back is Alan Chasney?
Yep.
Today, you're talking about the performance of the tourism industry and how buoyant and vibrant it is. 3, the expansion of construction in the public and private sector. You stop all of the construction projects that was going on, but you talking about expanding the construction in both the public and the private sector? I mean, that's why I tell you, the man is lost in his own office. He cannot find his way in his own office. Now, you know what that reminds me of? So I know you read your Bible. You know that there are 3 parables there's the parable of the lost sheep, the lost coin, and the prodigal son. So I think I know it's in the book of Matthew. I cannot recall the chapter
exactly
right now.
The New Testament.
But I want to make a point. There's a particular reason why these 3 illustrations were used as parables by Jesus himself. Number 1, the lost sheep. The lost sheep, it was lost. It knew it was lost, so it kept on crying, but it did not know its way back. So the shepherd had to go and find it.
Look for it, yeah.
The prodigal son, he was lost, he knew he was lost, and he knew his way back. So after the famine and everything, he said, he was dating with the pigs. He said, look here, I will arise and go to my father because he has servants.
Exactly.
So he got up and he made his way back to where he came from.
Right.
The lost coin is a unique illustration used by Jesus himself because the coin was in the house. It was lost, but it did not know that it was lost. That is Philip J. Pierre. Philip J. Pierre is like a lost coin. He's dead.
Oh my God.
He's lost, and he's clueless that he is lost. He doesn't know. If you know, you will make an effort to find your way. You'll cry for help. You'll do something. But the coin was in a corner of the house until the owner of the house decided to clean the house, sweep the house, search everywhere, and found the coin. And the coin still never knew that it was lost. So that is how, it's shameful that this is how my prime minister is, but that is what he is. That is what Philip J.
But let me ask you something for clarification. The $328 million that was left there by Alan Chasney to finance the budget, right, which he left there. Philip J. Pierce
sat there. He left it there. These were loans that were approved, but we have not drawn
on the loans. Okay, fair enough. So what you're saying...
So you go to the bank to take a loan to build your house.
Right.
The loan is $300,000. But you've only drawn down $20,000 to pay for the plan, to prepare the site and everything. And then later on, you will draw down the other $270 to build the house. So that is exactly what happened. We made the provision. And the same loans they voted against in the parliament, today, they are the ones who drew down on it for them to use it. Now, you see, when you vote against something, you should have no right to touch
use it.
So they should have made them put the money back with the banks and then go and find their own money to run the country.
So this is very deceptive, lies and deceit. Because as you rightfully said, because somebody sent me the foolishness Claudius wrote, and I'm like, Alan Chasney must have left the loans or something in the budget, and they used it because they are clueless. Because if you watch carefully, this government does not have a plan. And what they are doing, they are using what Alan Chastanet left there. They were so in uproar about the roads Alan Chastanet was building. But right now, listen to one of his pointers to generate revenue for the economy is to
Yes.
build roads.
Encouraging. He
Encouraging.
said implement the expansion of construction in the public and private sector. Encourage prudent, responsible, and transparent fiscal management. Implement tools that will assist in significantly reducing waste and unnecessary spending. And so all the things he's talking about there are the things that we implemented. All of it is in these three books, you know. Budget transparency and accountability is there. Report on the status of public financial management reform and St. Lucia's macroeconomic performance and medium-term response. All the things are there. So what Philip J. Pierre is writing, or whoever wrote for him, then develop institutional framework designed to eliminate corruption. You want to eliminate corruption, but you have Ernest Hiller in your government.
Hey, we have to touch on that a little.
Can you tell us how he got title to the vehicle?
No, but before we go to Ernest, because I want to touch on that a little. Philip J. Pierre is really fooling the people of St. Lucia, and we saw what happened with Impacts. The special prosecutor that he has placed $1 million aside is null and void if the DPP of St. Lucia doesn't lead the charge. So what foolishness is this?
Because that's the gamesmanship. But here's you see, so I want to show you how lost Philip J. Pierre is. So here is point 7. So point 7 of his budget speech. Hear what it says. An environment where there is a substantial reduction in revenue from fuel. So Philip J. Pierre is
He's lying.
He's reading a speech where he's saying, okay, the policies of my government in this budget, you know, not in future budgets, in this budget, is that he's going to create an environment where there will be a substantial reduction in revenue from fuel. In essence, Mr. Speaker, the estimates of expenditure will fund projects that will put the people first. So it's saying that you will reduce the amount of money that you're making from fuel. You have gone and increased fuel by $2.
He's a liar. He's a mighty deceiver. He's a liar. He's a liar. This man is a liar. And people asking me, yes, a liar of class. And people are asking me, why am I giving this government pressure? Let me tell you something. I hate a liar. I don't like a liar. This man lie like it is drinking a cup of water. This man is a liar. How can St. Lucians sit there and accept this nonsense? How can they?
Now, so the death of St. Lucia. When Sir John left office, our national debt was under $500 million. Mm-hmm. And that was after from 1979 to 1997.
Mm-hmm.
That is how many? 20 years?
1997.
Almost 30 years.
1997. That's about 20.
79, 80. That's 20.
About 20 something years.
Yeah, about almost 18. No, how I not getting my maths right tonight?
Yes, now I will tell you.
1979 to
1997, right?
Yeah, it's about 18 years.
About how many years? 18 years. 18.
About 18 years.
Yes, 18.
For our 18 years of independence, when Sir John left office, the national debt was under $500 million.
$500 million, 500,000. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. it was about for something, and that now you have national debt, but not all of them is central government debt. So if SLASPA takes a loan, it comes under national debt. If WASCO takes a loan, it comes. But central government debt is what is taken, because the government institutions that take loans on their own, the government backs the loan, so
Loans
it goes
for them,
as
yes, I
part
know
of
that.
our debt, overall debt, but we are
Debt.
not responsible to pay. It's
Right.
only if there's a default on the part of
That
the
the government
agency.
takes over, yes.
In the 9 years that Labour spent, the debt went up to about 1.5 billion. So the Labour Party in their first term in their 9 years would have brought up the debt by more than double or triple what Sir John left when he left office, when UWP lost elections in 1997. So when you look at the last term, when Stephenson King was Prime Minister, we increased the debt by under $600 million. So it went to about $2 billion. And by the time Labour left office, they had increased the debt to almost $3 billion. And I'm betting you, so if I go on the average, so if in your first budget you borrow $505 billion, so let's say for 4 years, you got $500 billion. That's two.
That's 2 billion, 2 point something billion dollars.
Yes, you go. So you're going to double the debt in 4 years.
Jesus.
So I don't know whether people in St. Lucia are paying attention, but I want to go to page 4 of his budget. Development capital expenditure is the subtitle. Mr. Speaker, based on the current rate of implementation of some major projects over the past 11 months, we now estimate an outturn on the development side of the budget of 377.06 million, representing utilization rate of 95.5% of approved resources for the fiscal year 2021-2022. This is unprecedented given that implementation rates in the past have been below 70%. Some of the major contributors to the expected outturn include. Now, let me explain that to the people. Through users. All budgets were being implemented, 60-70% of the budget. When you had accomplished 70% of a budget in terms of implementation, that was considered high marks.
Yes, you've done well.
Now, Labour wants to take credit, so they are saying that since they came in, the project implementation was 95.5%.
Yes, I heard him saying that.
So, but head the projects. So let's head the projects that have the 95.5% implementation. Viewfort Water Sector Development Project, started by the United Workers' Party, continued by the Labour Party. Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project. I can tell you, most of the projects have stopped. The contracts were issued for both community centers in PI and Roblo. None of them have started. The work has stopped on the Odsa Community Center. The work has stopped on the Bexon Community Center. All of that World Bank project. I've not seen the bridge. I saw some very preliminary works on the PI bridge having started. So let's go on. St. Jude Reconstruction Project. How long ago they stopped the work on St. Jude?
Oh.
But you want to cite 95% implementation is as a result of you being in government.
But how can it be his? How can it be his? He's crazy. You just came into government. How can 95% of budget implementation be yours? He's crazy. He's insane.
I'm just looking at the implementation side. So you stop the St. Jude constituency road improvement and maintenance program. You stop all of the road works with the exceptions of the ones Renault doing.
Yes, true. Very true.
You stop Nationwide, you stop Fresh Start. This what is Nationwide, Prestat, and Renault that was doing the design finance construct. So why the other two stop and one is ongoing? When and when they tell you there was Ball and there was this, all of them signed the same type of contract. Same Ministry of Infrastructure, headed by Stevenson King, his permanent secretary and his technical staff were the ones who did all of the negotiations with all of the contractors in terms of their rates and everything. But you see, they want to tie Prestat to guys, so they'll tell you there was something wrong with what they were doing, but we will know in time. So Proud, that's the settlement upgrade project that was going on in Kenny's constituency. That was headed by my ministry. It was going on in my area and in Labrie. And all of these, two of the jobs was being done by Renault in Viewfort area. The one in my constituency, Castries Southeast, was being done by Renault. The other one was doing by James Cobb, and the other one by Dean Nicholas. So there was a widespread of activity. Emergency response COVID-19 projects. What COVID-19 projects the Labour Party have done?
Nothing.
And the National Roads, the National Roads Rehabilitation Project. So Philip J. Pierre, if you had not stopped these works that was ongoing, we would have more than 120% in implementation as opposed to the 95.5% that you are talking about. Now, there's another one. You remember a lot of questions have been asked about the grant and the Millennium Highway, why the work has not started. You know why the work was delayed for so long on that road? Because the Ministry of Infrastructure recommended an engineer with zero experience in that type of project management. And the Caribbean Development Bank kept on refusing. That went back and forth for more than 6 months. And the ministry refused to make a change. Stevenson King.
Whoa! Wait, let me get that straight. During your reign as Minister of Economic Development and what's his name, Stevenson King, as the Minister of Infrastructure, this project was stalled because of the engineer not being qualified and Mr. King not doing what he was supposed to do.
The ministry, let me not say the Ministry of Infrastructure.
The Ministry of Infrastructure.
I want to be very politically correct.
Okay, the Ministry of Infrastructure. We got that. Okay, we got that.
And you know how the bank actually called me because I was the representative for St. Lucia on the bank. We had to go to Barbados, the Prime Minister, Minister King, and imagine you sitting at the table with all these officials from the bank and they are telling you that, look here, but the project is delayed because you are recommending an engineer that the bank is not going to sign off on because the bank has its own requirements to meet. And I can say without fear of criticism, the engineer was a card-carrying member of the Labour Party at one time. And you see, you see in this country, things will not go the way it ought to go unless people who know what is going on speak out. And that is what I've always done. Because I said to my PS in Ministry of Economic Development, why are you all going to allow a project to drag on for so long? But you see, we are just the agency that is responsible to secure the funding. The implementing agency is the Ministry of Infrastructure.
Got you.
So we cannot bypass them. We did all the work. All they had to do was implement the project. Look at how long. Have you seen one pothole being blocked on the Millennium Highway?
No,
the potholes you see being blocked there is being done by the ministry. So now you have a contract that is signed so long for that road. You mean they can start paving the road and that asphalt they're wasting on that road there that you have already signed a contract for? Go and use that asphalt somewhere else to block up roads. We have limited resources. You have a signed contract. Why isn't the contractor starting the paving works on the road?
Now let me just stop you there, because it's an insult to the people of St. Lucia that this had to be going back and forth. Imagine a friend of mine wrote on Facebook, okay, I burst a tire and shock on my car tonight on the Turnell Road. Who do I go to for compensation? Is it the contractor, C.O. Williams, or Ministry of Infrastructure?
It is very hard to prove certain things, but it's usually the responsibility of the Ministry of Infrastructure. But the process you have to go through to prove that you are driving with due care and attention, that you are not over the speed limit, that a lot of things, you know, a lot of factors, then are there adequate signs on the road to say that this is a road under construction, so you have to proceed with caution. And we don't have proper signage in St. Lucia. And I'm not blaming the government for this entirely. The supervisors of the projects, because in every project there is a special line item for signage and safety. And sometimes the contractors do not put all of the signs so that they can maximize their profits. So these are some issues that you would have in a situation like that. So I just want people to be aware that you see what is going on. By now, the Millennium Highway, the paving of that section of the road should have finished. It should have been completed by now. You know how long I've seen C.O. Williams on that road? Graders, backhoes, clearing drains, clearing the side of the road, but no actual work. So I don't know if the ministry, because the ministry would have to hand over the road to them to allow them to begin the process of milling the road and paving the road. I don't know why this is not happening. You see in all of the people, I see they're working on the roundabout and all of this, but the road that needs urgent attention is not being attended to. So I need to move quickly because they have a few other things.
Okay,
so
go ahead.
Here's another one. On the page 6 of the budget, grants. Mr. Speaker, grant receipts from friendly donors and partners are expected to register a significant shortfall, estimated at 66.28 million when compared to the approved target of 121.26 million for the fiscal year 2021-2022. Hear that? The underperformance is influenced primarily by non-receipt of funds owed to the delays in implementing key projects such as the Millennium Highway, West Coast Road Upgrade, reconstruction of Bridge Cul-de-sac, generation of employment through private sector, and building resilience for adaptation to climate change and climate vulnerability, just to name a few. So we have grant money. Now listen, Soso. C'est pas un loan. C'est pas prêté.
It's a grant. It's a grant. Yes.
And the Labour Party has always been lousy at cashing down on grants. Because you are telling me that we have grant money available. The project is moving so slow that some of these grant monies we may eventually lose because
there are
donors give you grants
stipulations.
for periods of time.
Yes.
Now think of it. You have a grant available to you. You're not using it. You think in future when you go and ask, they'll give it to you?
No, they won't.
So now the money that you could get as a grant, you now have to go and borrow. And you're reading that in your budget speech, but you will not say for the last 8 months you've been sitting in the office of the Prime Minister. What did you do to see to it that these projects are moving? And that is why they had a problem with me. Because they sat there for 5 years. Money that was approved in 2010 on the DVRP. They could not implement 10% of the project. I came in And we had to ask for additional money because we were able to commit every sin that was available under the DVRP. You know what they've done? They came in and they stopped the project. So the Angers Community Center, nothing happening there. The Hudson Community Center. The project in Bexon was an $11 million project that Jim Cobb Construction was doing down there with the indoor facility. They've stopped all of these projects. So when you stop these projects, what do you think will happen to these farms? But that is what the people, that's what the people maybe wanted. So that's what they, so there's so much in this budget, but I don't want to spend my whole time in, because Philip JP's budget is, now the last one maybe I will touch on tonight, and I will show you the wickedness of this government. Taxes on international trade transactions. And I want the people of St. Lucia to pay careful attention to that quotation from Philip J. Pierre. Taxes on international trade transactions. Mr. Speaker, taxes on international trade, or in bracket customs duties, are projected to increase by 13.5% to reach $236.4 million in 2022-2023, up from a revised estimate of $208.9 million in 2021-2022. This revenue category accounts for 19.28% of recurrent revenue. Of the total amount to be collected from taxes on international trade transactions, $126.4 million is expected to come from import duty and $103.5 million from excise tax, $4.4 million from throughput charges, and $2.1 million from passenger facility fees. But here's the best line that I want the people of St. Lucia to understand. The improvement in inflows from this revenue category is driven by the general increase in the CIF value of imported goods.
Thank you. Thank you. I know where you're going with that. Talk to my people. Let them see what this government is doing to them.
CIF is an abbreviation for cost,
insurance,
and freight. So if you order something from Trinidad or from Miami,
wicked government.
Cost is what you pay for it. Insurance is what you pay to have the goods insured. So if anything happens to it while it is being transported.
Right.
And then you have the freight, which is what you pay the vessel to transport.
Right.
So when your goods get to St. Lucia, they add these three together: the cost, the freight, and the insurance. And then they charge you your duty. And then when they add the duty to it, then they go and calculate the VAT.
Expose them. I know where you're going. Expose them tonight.
So what Philip J. Pierre, because if he did not recognize it, or maybe he didn't understand what the person wrote for him when he read it. You are saying that, so from 208 to 236.4 million, isn't it? So you making an addition, or the government will collect an additional almost $28 million.
Wickedness.
In revenue.
Wickedness.
As a result of the increase of cost, insurance, and freight. So here's what the government is doing. If the situation was one where you realize that what the government should do, because it's not more goods you buy, it's the same goods, but because of COVID, the prices have gone up. Inflation. Why should the government be exploiting the people by collecting that additional 28 million rather than give a 2% reduction in the cost of or the duty charges,
The duty charge,
or the
yeah.
excise tax, or whatever you charge it. Because he gave the two breakdowns there. The two breakdowns are from 126 million is going to come from import duty and 100 million from excise tax. So why didn't you just reduce that 126 million, reduce it to 100 million, because that would give a little, as we would say, soulagement to the people going to the supermarket, to the persons going and buy things for school supplies, to the persons going and buy clothes. But I tell you, I see how wicked this government is, because the same fellas who said to Alan Chasney, give the people the money, give the people the money. Now you are coming. So you know how I see that? That's the new VAT. Because what I want the people of St. Lucia to understand is, if you order if you order 4 tires, it's still 4 tires. Even though you pay double the price, it's not 8 tires you have. It's the same 4 tires that you have.
And
so why would the government do that? You know that the world market prices have changed. You know the price have gone up as a result. Freight. So a container you would get shipped for $3,000 is now $6,000. You charging the people the same rate of duty?
Wickedness in high places. He's making profit by not reducing the taxes, by not reducing the tariff. He is wicked because inflation has increased the prices. So if this man, Philip JP, said, okay, let us drop all tariffs or whatever to 5% to give the people a little soulagement, we would have more disposable income. But he's greedy. He's actually killing us, stroking us. This is what this man is doing.
I'm telling you that this is what, and that to me summed up Philip JPS. You see that line? That you know that cost, freight, and insurance have gone up. And you would not do anything. You are at Alan Chasney's throat. Give the people the money. Give a little relief to the people. As soon as you take the realm of government, you begin to speak. If Alan Chasney was in government, look at for how long we gave the break on the barrels.
Yes.
Look at for how long we gave the break on property tax. For the whole 5 years, nobody was required to pay property tax under a UWP-led government. We wiped off all of the bills that was owed for Victoria Hospital and St. Jude. We reduced the license fees that they had increased for the vehicles. We increased the school subsidy, the feeding program, the transport. I mean, everything we said, the 5 to stay alive, we did it. What has Philip J. Pierre and his bunch of out-of-tune band, what have they done for the people of St. Lucia? So, I want to go to St. Jude now.
Yes, let's go there. Let's go there.
I did. How much time we have?
Let's go. Let's go.
I did promise the people of St. Lucia. You know, I just want people to understand. I wanted to deal with interest payments, but I will come to that another time because I think that Philip J. Pierre does not understand the budget.
No,
I know
he
does not understand.
The man is an economist. How can he not understand a budget?
But if he understood the budget, there are so many places you could give the people a break from the budget.
Yes, a lot of. He's giving us no breaks. We are hurting. We are hurting. Every time we as mothers go to the supermarket, we are crying. We are hurting. This man has given the people of St. Lucia no soulagement, nothing.
You know, on page 16 of his budget, so I won't read it, but I'll just highlight.
Yeah.
You borrowing or you request $31.5 million from the National Economic Fund. And you know how much of only 1.5 million of that is going to St. Jude. So is that the money they'll spend on St. Jude? 1.5 million. Now there are other places in the budget that they mention St. Jude, but they say that's to pay outstanding things on St. Jude. And you can see it on page 16 of his budget speech. So let's come to the details of St. Jude now, because it will take me a few programs, but I will do what, you know what I'm happy about now? Stevenson King and Kenny Anthony are now in the same government. They are on the same side of the political divide. And they are the two people who are responsible for St. Jude from the inception. You know where I find, you know, as I was going through that, and I will come maybe in future when you back on to discuss the shock lungs, and you will be surprised to see what happened there and how much money we paid and what the evaluators said, and find out who in the government went and made the deal with the shock estate to pay them $2 for land that was valued at $1. And agreed to $2.05 to purchase the land. I will come to that, and I have documents to prove what I'm saying. But I want to say here that in reviewing these things, you know what I observed also? I found myself in government trying to fix a lot of things that previous persons had created a mess with. And one of the worst ones was St. Jude. When St. Jude was started under UWP government, I was Minister for Communications and Works. I was not close to health. I was not close to the office of the Prime Minister because economic development was the one handling St. Jude. I was not in the Ministry of Housing. The River Dore lands was in trouble. Shock Estate was in trouble. Talvan lands was in trouble. I came into government and I was given the task to fix all of these messes that was created by the people before. So, and I will give you some hardcore evidence to back up what I'm telling you tonight, because when people hear and they see what is involved there. So, the first one I will show you is the direct award, that was given. And here for what the direct award was given. And because they have some names, I did not send these to you to post up, because I always believe that there are people who their names don't deserve to be out there in the public domain like that, because they were given a job by government.
Yes, I agree. I support that.
But as much as I will show you is that signature that is there. Can we get it on the camera? That signature there is the signature of Stevenson King.
We have it on the camera.
And anybody who has seen his signature would know that this is his signature.
Hey, Stevenson King, your signature there,
So I'm reading. So when you hear them talk about Bon Séjour funds, hear this. On the basis of the recommendation from the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance, Economic Affairs and National Development, dated 10th October 2011, and in accordance with the powers conferred upon me as Minister for Finance under Part 3, Section 9(1) of the Procurement and Stores Regulation contained in the Finance Administration Act, Chapter 1501 of the Revised Laws of St. Lucia 2001, I hereby grant approval for direct award, and I will skip the person's name, in the amount of $72,269.54 for the purpose of conducting the requisite needs assessment and market research to assist with the development of a preliminary design concept for the new specialist medical facility at Bon Séjour, Vieux-Fort. So when I said that this land had been abandoned as a fad, where the horse racing track is, I can show you back, and Stephenson King can say what he wants. The evidence says otherwise. He had commissioned a study, and that was the time that Tom Chu came and offered us to build the wing that was destroyed for us in 6 months and get the hospital reopened. And Steve took the advice from those who were around him, and he rejected the offer by the Taiwanese, and because he was looking to build a new facility in Vieux-Fort. That is one source. So his ministry engaged contractors through direct awards. Direct award for equipment and money was given by Kenny Anthony. So Kenny Anthony and the two Ks, King and Ken, I want them, and I'm asking them, because they are both part of the same sinking ship now, the sinking ship of the Labour Party. So if they want to have a discussion about St. Jude, I want them to report on their stewardship. Let King report on what he did. Let Kenny report on what he did. And I will report on what I did. And we can question each other about our performance.
I agree. I would like to moderate this. Oh, I would love to moderate this.
When we were in charge. Because it's easy for them. They created a mess. And you know, when somebody creates a mess and you have to come and fix the mess that you did not create, how difficult it is. So I can report on my stewardship, and I will present to you what was said about the cost of St. Jude. So when you see John Peters and Mark Hennicat and all of them want to come and say what St. Jude will cost, I have the evidence to prove them otherwise. And I will read the document for you. It is from the Department of Planning and National Development, from Permanent Secretary to Honorable Minister and Minister for Finance, dated March 30th, 2016. Who was Prime Minister in March of 2016? It surely was not Alan Shasney.
No, he was.
And Guy Joseph was not a minister.
Mm-hmm.
So here was the request for direct award of contract St. Jude Hospital reconstruction project, design and supervision, Halcro Group Limited. Now I will not read the whole letter, but I will just read that section for you, so you get it.
Right.
Halcro Group Limited has submitted the fee proposal highlighted in Table 1 to allow for successful conclusion of the project. The new award would result in the revised estimates for design and supervision services of $15.5 million. So the $15.5 million is for the design of the hospital and for the supervision. Now, mind you, we're talking about March of 2016. When did the hospital begin? 2010, 2011.
Yeah, under Stephenson King.
So how could a consultant who was supposed to be designing a hospital come in 2016, 6 years later, to look for additional money for design and I can understand for the supervision part. So you mean you started the hospital in 2010, in 2016 you are still designing? And the design and supervision charge was $15.5 million, VAT included. the total project cost is estimated, estimated 178.7 million. So when I came and I said, and that is a letter that was sent by the then Permanent Secretary, Tracy Polius, to Dr. Kenny Anthony, who was Prime Minister in March of 2016, to sign off on a direct award, which was done, which meant that they accepted that the price for the hospital was 178. That's the estimated price, without correcting any of the defects that you remember I read the whole set to you. They had more, you know. So how can people, now when we came into government, they had spent just a little over 100 million. They had not paid 100 million, but they had spent. Now, that 178 million does not include the 15 million for the consultant, you know. So if you add the 15 million for the consultant, 78 and 15, that's 93. And if it was an estimate, so you're looking at over $200 million. Not to build a new hospital, to repair the old St. Jude.
Jesus Christ.
And people want to look at Guy Joseph and say Guy Joseph was corrupt and Guy Joseph. So if Guy was corrupt and crooked, what words in the dictionary will describe Kenny Anthony and signing off on a hand? But I will come to, but here's the justification. The total project cost is 178 million with a supervision cost ratio of 8.7%. The ratio is above the recommended average of 6 to 8% for the design and supervision project. However, the fees include procurement of supplies for the various works contract as well as the equipment and furniture for the hospital and can therefore be justified on that basis. So you know what that is saying there, so you give a civil works engineer to do the work for the design, and I challenge Stevenson King, Kenny Anthony, and Philip J. Pierre to come and show me an approved design for the St. Jude Hospital that they were building. So you signed to pay a man $15 million for design and supervision, and up to now we don't have a design for the old St. Jude.
Now let me just ask you something there, because this is very painful listening to what you're saying. Philip J. Pierre had a conference with the reporters on Monday, and in his report, this man is saying they are going to fix the abandoned St. Jude's building. Is this man insane? Every St. Lucian, whether you are SLP or UWP, should match against this nonsense. We need our hospitals, and this is nonsense.
Well, so when you elect a government, especially when they think they have absolute power, that is what happens. So I am highlighting to the people of St. Lucia the reason why we could not proceed with finishing that hospital. Because if they had spent $100 million, and the estimated price was 178 million, and at the end of the day, you would have a makeshift facility. And by the time you go to fix everything that was there, you would spend $230 million in a facility that is substandard, that cannot meet basic requirements of a modern hospital, that would not meet the requirements. Can you imagine if you have a good medical insurance and you go to a facility that is not accredited? How your insurance paying you? If something happens to you there, how you getting paid when you're in a facility that is not accredited?
This is depressing.
Now, if people want to settle for that, I cannot tell people not to settle for that. But at the end of the day, And that is why I'm challenging Kenny, Philip, and King. Let's have a discussion. Let us show the people of St. Lucia and anybody who want to know the size of the existing, the present St. Jude that we are building. And I sent you a full document on the hospital that we are building now, the St. Jude Hospital, the new building, is 235,000 square feet. It is 20% bigger than OKEU Hospital. It has the capacity. In fact, from the info that I sent you, I just want to highlight, because I want to be very accurate on my information. You know how many beds will be in that hospital altogether? There will be about 150 beds in that hospital. So there will be total beds in all areas is 158, but the sleep beds as counted by the hospital. So usually when you do bed count in a hospital, they just check the beds in the wards that you put people in. But you would have 108 of these beds in the hospital. Now, any 100-room hospital, and you can go and Google it also, will range between 50 million and 150 million. For now, if you take what we have done there, and you take the lowest number, which is 50 million US, that's 135 million EC dollars. That is within the range that we are falling with getting the first floor of the hospital completed. And when Philip J. Pierre, and it's sad, because I know when these people are sick, they don't go to the doctor in St. Lucia. And they can tell me, yes, it's the same about you. I have always said that in my years growing up, every time I had to go to the doctor, I went to St. Jude, because the sisters of Mercy
was very good.
Always had the specialist there. My mother was living in Auger, so I had easy access.
My grandma used to go there too.
To the hospital. When I needed to see a specialist, all my dental things, everything, up to now, Dr. Curlin Phillips, who's my dentist, that is where I met her. She wasn't even a doctor, a dentist down there yet. Eden Ligra, all of these people used to. I have been, from a child, I've been going to St. Jude. And when you see the report that is there says that any major hurricane, the roof of St. Jude will collapse. And if you go there, you will see the sagging of the roof already. Philip J. Pierre wants to go. When we took off one of the floors, you saw that there were tiles below the concrete. All the old waste pipes was there as they were. I have photos of it, you know. So in the middle of a wall, you see, they used to have these old-time urinals, and it had these big galvanized pipes running down to the... All of that, they just cast over it, you know. All of that in the wall. If you saw some of the pictures that Norbert showed on Keeping It Real, where they run a main beam in the dialysis unit, and only one bolt was holding the beam. The rest of it, there was not even concrete behind it. And they were supposed to put solar panels on top of that. Can you imagine that weight and that caving in on people who are on dialysis?
Now let me ask you a question.
Demolition of that building.
Yes, now let me ask you a question. Philip J. Pierre on Monday in his press conference said that your government gave a direct award for $70 million just to finish the first floor. Can you explain that for our audience before we leave? There's a lot to discuss, but you'll have to come back next Wednesday.
So I can give you, and that's why I tell them, don't come and lie to the people of St. Lucia. Don't call numbers from your head and say what you want. the total amount that have been spent on the hospital, it says the total cost to bring the facility into use, $137,490,053.27. That was the last report that was given to me before the elections. So if anything changed, it changed after the government changed, not during the time. So now let me break that down, because I think it is necessary to break it down. So let's make a comparison. So 178 million to repair some old buildings. 137 million to build a brand new facility from scratch, from nothing, into a world-class hospital. Now that 134 would finish the ground floor. Everything else is done in the upper floor, you know. You know what is needed in the upper floor? All the partitions, all the railings for the partitions are there. All you have to do is put the drywall, put your doors, your electrical stuff. So when they say, how can you go into a place and there's all the major works have been done? And we're not talking about an ordinary hospital. We are talking about a hospital that is withstand earthquakes. You see how you see in the buildings stuck together? So there are 7 separate buildings there, you know. But the way they are joined, what it has is it has a cushion joint between the two, so water does not run through. So you see it as one continuous building. But the buildings are a certain distance from each other. So if there's an earthquake and the buildings move, one will not knock against the other to cause damage to the building. There's a helipad on top where because what we were looking to do is we were looking to have 3 areas of specialization. And one of them would be, we were working with Cayman Health City to try and get something going there to deal with people with heart problems. So putting the stent and doing basic surgeries for heart attacks and these things. So think of it. If something happened to you in Castries, especially pertaining to your heart, you can't drive down to Viewfort. But you can pick up a helicopter at VG or one of the other places. And the helicopter would, just like you do for Matnik, would land right on top of the hospital. The elevator takes you all the way to the top roof. Just get the stretcher into the elevator and straight into the emergency of the hospital. That is what modern medicine affords. So to tell me that you're going to abandon that to go back to the old building for cheap politics.
It's madness. It's madness.
So what they are saying there, so all the figures combined together, what has been spent and what is to be spent to make the ground floor usable would come up to the 137 million. So these are not 2 different sets of, and that's why I tell you, when Pierre wants to deceive people,
lies and deceit,
which he's good at doing,
very good.
He uses these kinds of innuendos, and he tries to tell you, well, look here, this. So let me give you the breakdown, because they think that I don't have the information. I tell them, when I'm in charge, I'm in charge. That's how it is. I'm not in charge, and they cannot tell me on paper I'm in charge and I'm not in charge. When I'm in charge, I make it my business to know what is happening. So, and on this occasion, I will call the companies, because they will say, why you hide it? So Fresh Start Construction Company, site preparation, $7,784,126.96. Now, that payment was made. And Stevenson King went on the platform, and he said that the site preparation was estimated at 3 million and we paid 7 or 8 million, so somebody should go to jail. But he will have to occupy a cell before the somebody will send him to jail. Because when I will show you what was done under his watch, then you will understand. So the $3 million was to clear the site. What we did was my ministry taking responsibility for the project. I said, y'all not clearing the site and leaving it there for grass to grow again. Prepare the foundation, prepare the ground, so they had to take away all the soft material. And anybody who knows St. Jude, that area is almost like there's a spring of water there.
Soggy.
So we had to dig to a certain depth. You had to remove the soft material and bring in the base material to put in there for the foundation. So as soon as the go-ahead was given for the hospital, that's why we were able to start the work. And everybody want to hold me accountable for not finishing St. Jude. But Stevenson King started St. Jude in 2010. We lost elections in 2011. He could not finish St. Jude. He could not finish repair, not building St. Jude. Kenny Anthony and the Labour administration came, spent 5 years in government, and could not finish repairing a building that they had started repairing. In less than 2 years, I was given the go-ahead to build a new hospital, and I almost finished the hospital. Had it not been for COVID. Now, if anybody want to judge me on that, they're free to judge me. But at the end of the day, nothing they have done can compare to the quality of work, and I bet them they can never beat us on price. So if Stevenson King thinks that somebody should go to jail, I challenge him. He has engineers in his ministry. These calculations are not difficult, so. There's length, and there's width, and there's cubic meters. And there's a certain amount that is paid for every cubic meter of material you excavate and you transport, and what you bring back to replace what was there. So that's not rocket science. Anybody can go and calculate. And I bet you, if you go and calculate the amount of material removed and replaced, that you will have more value on the ground than the money that is spent. Then you have total construction supplies. Material for the substructure, $7,039,385. Caribbean metals, $712,968.75. Bryce and Company, $712,000. Prestat Construction for work on the structural frame, $10,449,987. Prestat Construction, work on structural frame, $3,831,255. Prestat Construction for works structural frame. These are payments I'm highlighting there. All of that is part of a contract, but the payments that was made, $2,110,084.16. OECC, that is Overseas Engineering Construction Company. That is the Taiwanese company who have the main contract at St. Jude. Their payment is $37,634,800. And I deliberately I added the total payment to Fresh Start Construction on St. Jude is $24,175,453.35. The payment to OECC is $37,634,800. And if you add up all the others, all of that together adds up to $70,274,607.10. That is the payment that we made during our time in government on the St. Jude
I am
construction
so
project.
happy you debunked Philip J. Pierre with that 70 million, because this man just takes figures and fly it here, fly it there. He's supposed to be an economist. What foolishness is that? Now, Mr. Joseph, we are heading
so
to home run, so I'll give you the final words to say, but you have to come back next Wednesday.
no. So I just want to complete that one,
Okay.
and then because more work has been done than the 70 million.
Right.
So the amount to take us to the 134, there's a balance to be paid on the works done. There's a balance of 34 million, which takes you to about 100 million on the project. And then there is the amount to finish downstairs so that we would occupy. So that is what takes you to the 134 million. So the 134 million has not been paid. Some of the works have not been done. The works that have been done.
Okay.
So what Philip J. Pierre did was he deliberately gave all the figures to make it look like somebody has gone out and paid all of that money. So what we were doing, we were negotiating with Fresh Start to give them a finance construct for the final phase of the work of the hospital. But that has not taken place.
My
So
word. This Prime Minister lies.
Yes, but you see, when you make people believe that other people were corrupt and crooked in what they did, and you don't have the information to back it up, you now have to make up. And that is that's why I tell you, Philip J. Pierre have a conversation with me. And neither can Kenny Anthony or Stevenson King, because I can account for everything that I did, every cent that was spent at St. Jude. I have it right there. And there is value for money in what we
product.
did.
Yes,
None of them. You know how many times they changed the roof at St. Jude between Stevenson King and Kenny Anthony? 3 times. And the roof that is there is still not good. You know how many walls they built and broke down? And you know the new St. Jude that we are building there have 10 private rooms. And we have the... Now imagine a hospital in Viewfort with the capacity to have 158 beds. So remember, when the wards don't have space, my brother was at OKU, what day was that? He spent the whole night on a chair. He had breathing problems. Now I understood the hospital did not have space. You know what he asked them? He said, give him a bed sheet, let him lie down on the floor, because he cannot sit on the chair. Eventually they got a small cot, like those camping things, and they put him on. It's not the fault of the staff at the hospital. If there are no beds, there are no beds. Because you have 122 beds, I don't know how many other beds you have in there. So imagine we built St. Jude with the capacity to increase, because the size of the dialysis unit and the other building next to it, because what we did was we were taking one of the older buildings for administration, so that you could increase, you can safely go to 170, 180 beds at the facility that we are building there in St. Jude. With private room, with the opportunity, we have already, the rooms are designed and everything. All you have to do is screw the drywall on, put your electricals and the paint, and the hospital is ready to operate. And that's why we said in 3 months, we would have finished the ground floor and we would have been able to move St. Jude over there. Because when we asked them, what's the minimum number of beds that they could operate with, we had agreed about 54 beds, and we could have increased it to about 80 beds for them to operate. So what we were doing is what is best for St. Lucia. You see, these Labour Party people, it's not about St. Lucia. It's about politics for them. And it's very sad that Philip J. Pierre is more concerned about politics than about the country. And
Mr.
that is very,
Joseph,
very
it was so nice having you. You're coming back next Wednesday because I am going to take a little break, but I'll be back on Tuesday. But you have to come back on Wednesday with me. Please give your final thoughts to my audience, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much for following Soso. Let's encourage and support her by buying the coffees and doing the things that are necessary. Soso, I believe that you have a great audience, and what you are doing for St. Lucia, I will always see. Future generations will be able to look back and say, thank God we had a Soso who came and exposed the lies and deceit of this government so that our people could be enlightened and we can make the best choices for our country moving forward. I appreciate what you do, and I tell you, when you have to criticize me, don't be afraid to criticize me. I can take criticism, I learn from it. But St. Lucia, I have so much information at my disposal that I can share with the people of St. Lucia. I didn't walk to Parliament with 2 bags for style. I walk because I gather my information, I collect my information. If I cannot back up what I'm saying, I do not say it. And just remember, we have a lost coin in the Prime Minister's office, a man who is lost and doesn't know that he's lost. And that's a sad state of affairs. We will have to rescue ourselves. Labour cannot rescue St. Lucia. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you so much, Mr. Joseph. And thanks to all of you, my YouTubers stayed. And thank you on Facebook and GVD TV 115. My people, I am going to take the weekend off. So I'll be back with you on Tuesday, and I'm going to invite Mr. Joseph over on Wednesday. So do have a happy Easter with your family. I'm going to take a little break and have some R&R. I love you much. Bye. See you on Tuesday.
We expose lies and deceit. Expect us.